Hello Indie Game fans, another week, another lot of awesome indie games, this time to close off the month of February with at least one potential Game of the Year contender in the mix in this edition of Indie Gaming this week. Let's begin with the adorable Kitty Tactics, a tactics title that has you commanding cats, expanding your territory and defeating your enemies. The multiple factions on the board, indicated by the different colours, seems very intriguing, since more often than not, tactics titles tend to only feature 2 sides per battle, and there are even RPG progression mechanics and a job system for the cats, making it one for fans of the genre. An isometric action RPG title that caught my eye is Wigmund, The Return of the Hidden Knights, set in a classic Tolkien-esque high fantasy universe, but has an open world structure and even a Diablo-style inventory and equipment system. Interestingly, this has you controlling the sword swing via your mouse, not being simple clicking as per other action RPGs, which you can see via the mouse cursor in the trailer itself. That alone makes it of interest, but this does include dodging and rolling as well, adding another layer to the combat. It looks awesome visually, making it pleasant on the eyes, but will be releasing in early access with about 1/3 of the planned content in the current version, so certainly one to keep an eye on.
You thought you could control us. You thought we would bow before your will.
I mentioned Cataclysm back at its early access launch in July 2020, with it being a non-roguelite deck-building RPG, which was a nice change of pace at the time, and makes it to 1.0 this week. I remember it getting mixed reviews on Steam, but that appears to have been fixed, so if you always wanted to try a deck builder but hated the ideas of roguelites, this is one to get. I've talked about developer Spiderweb Software before, being one of the OG indie developers before being indie was cool, having started in 1994 with the original GeneForge 1 releasing in 2001. With Mutagen, they are remastering the 20-year-old classic, and in keeping with tradition with this studio, it's a CRPG title, but the hook in this is that you can create an army of custom-made monsters. It's freeform and open world in that very classic retro CRPG kind of way, think Fallout 1 and 2, and it will definitely be interesting to see the reaction to this in 2021. I love puzzle games, and one that was brought to my attention was Room to Grow, a title that has you playing as a growing cactus who has to maneuver other plants around the level in order to get them to the correct spot. It looks very cute, but is giving me some horrific snake bird flashbacks, although according to the developer, it should be a little bit more accessible than that, but a curiosity for sure.
Welcome to Retromania Wrestling!
just one bigger title of interest with Retromania Wrestling, which, while still from a relatively small team, does have the name brand and likenesses of some wrestlers behind it. It's a retro-style arcade wrestling title that is the official sequel to WrestleFest from 1991 and may be of interest if you don't like the 2K products.
From 16 wrestlers from yesterday and today.
While it only has a roster of 16 characters, some of which you may know, including the Road Warriors, RIP, Jeff Cobb and Zack Sabre Jr., perhaps best known from New Japan, Colt Cabana from AEW, Tommy Dreamer, Matt Cardona and Brian Myers from Impact, and the national treasure Nick Aldis from the NWA, so certainly some names if you're into pro wrestling, but even if you're not, this arcade brawler may still be of interest. Smaller Games of the Week begins with Airstrife Assault of the Aviators, a shoot-'em-up title that I previously covered and is of interest due to the self-described Souls-like mechanics present. This new trailer shows off some of the features that makes it different, so do have a look. For a different type of shooter, Astro Dogs may be of interest since it's an on-rails title which seems to be more arcadey in nature with a striking art style and looks like it could be neat. Baobab's Mausoleum is a dark adventure title that has been chugging along, releasing one chapter after the next, with the Grindhouse edition combining all three into one package, so pick it up if it's of interest. Deadish is a very cute looking platformer that stars a Radish that is also a dad, having previously released on Switch and mobile, and is getting a Steam version this week. Also, the sequel, Deadish 2, comes to Steam, having the same art style but with more levels and content, and I'm always a sucker for this kind of look. Another roguelite auto-battler of interest is Hadean Tactics, incorporating another fan-favorite mechanic into the mix with deck building, which allows you to influence the battle in between phases, which looks of interest. The sci-fi Souls-like RPG Hellpoint got a little bit of a mixed reception at launch due to some bugs and jank surrounding the title, but that appears to have been patched up nicely, with the Switch port being released this week. If you enjoyed Pixar's The Incredibles and want something along that same vein, then Hero Among Us will be of interest, where you create your own superhero and have to protect the world. Choose which threat to address, what choice to make in a random event, as well as the hero's overall progression and leveling up. Love the art style and it should be cool. Also covered the action platformer Horned Knight in a previous video, where this title looks simple but hopefully controls well enough.
When SWAT gets the call, everything else has failed.
We handle the most dangerous missions. Arresting bad guys and saving lives is always our goal.
The team is only as good as their weakest operator. Plan and work together to bring order to chaos.
From infiltration to de-escalation.
Hands in the air.
Strategy is the key to being a SWAT operator.
Hot Brass is a real-time tactics title like Door Kickers, where you're in charge of an elite SWAT team, but I do have to give special mention to the bold choice of not having human-shaped operators on screen, but simply reducing them to icons, which is of interest.
Think before you shoot. Every action can mean the difference between life and death.
But that's why they call us. We're the best of the best, and it's what we're trained to do.
On the ground.
If you have a keen eye and can keep a cool head, then you have what it takes.
Koi Farm looks like a wonderfully chill fish breeding title that looks pretty zen, and as someone who enjoys relaxing games as well, this gets a spot. The super wholesome farming sim Littlewood gets a Switch port as well, being one of my favourite non-Stardew Valley farming games, with even less of a time pressure since the clock only moves when you do something, making it one of the most relaxing as well. I've seen somewhat of a renaissance of the time management cooking sim like Diner Dash, with titles like Cook Serve Delicious being front and center, where Make the Burger looks to enter that space as well, where you do have to serve various customers as fast as you can. Mirrored Pawns is an interesting looking puzzle title that has you controlling two units at the same time, where you can control the axes of symmetry and looks like a challenge. Of Mice and Moggies is another tile-based puzzle title where you play as a cat and have to hunt down various cute animals. Project Entertainment System is a wonderfully retro first-person shooter with a neat art style, and I like how the trailer defaults to a left-handed orientation for the perspective. The horribly named Stay is a lesson in how to make your game unsearchable, but it's a mini-game collection with time pressure that looks intense and could be of interest. Tested on humans, Escape Room is the latest escape room title to try its luck, and could be neat if you enjoy this type of experience and cannot get to a physical escape room these days. The Architect, Paris, caught my eye since it's a city builder title that lets you shape the historical city. If you've ever been to Paris, you will recognize some of the landmarks, and more than that, the customization options seem pretty deep as well. One thing to note is that I'm not sure how much of a game there is here, since there doesn't appear to be any resources or money constraints, but rather looks more like a sandbox title where you're free to reshape the city as you like, but very neat indeed. Twin Stick Heroes is a hand-drawn local multiplayer title that might not be the most visually impressive, but I do like their character designs, and the gameplay itself looks like fun with friends. We close off the smaller games of the week with the Switch and Xbox versions of Under Leaves, a wonderful nature-themed hidden object game that simply looks great. The top 5 starts with Fights in Tight Spaces, a level-based deck-building tactics title that has a little bit of a John Wick or Matrix vibe, not so much in theme or setting, but the action and how it makes you feel. Evidently, it uses quite the minimalist visual style where you tackle enemies with a variety of martial arts moves, and the turn-based structure only contributes to the style. It has previewed well based on your reaction from the demos available during the Steam Game Festivals, and as such is not to be missed. Also very excited to share that Rhythm Doctor is launching in early access, a rhythm game where you simply have to hit the button on the 7th beat. Well, I say simply, but of course there will be various twists on the formula, where you are playing as a doctor and have to save various patients from viruses, where every patient moves to the beat of their own drum, so to speak. It's all wrapped up with some nice pixel art and tricky music which will be of interest to fans of the genre, and also of note is that this developer is actually headquartered in Malaysia, so Asia represent, but does have an international team of collaborators from places such as Peru, which is super cool as well. A no-brainer pick of the week is Rogue Heroes Ruins of Tarsos, a 1 to 4 player action-adventure roguelite with town building and meta progression, so of course it's my jam. While playable solo, this certainly looks better with friends, where you adventure to take down titans to save the world. I like the life sim elements, including farming, fishing and swimming, which, combined with the leveling, progression and action, makes it one to watch.
Have you ever heard the story about being hunted? Until you start hunting them.
The release of Void Legal caught me by surprise as well, having been featured in my best upcoming action roguelite video, and I'm glad to see it being released. It's a Binding of Isaac style action roguelite where you traverse through the world fighting bosses to fight back the corruption, where bosses can run away from a fight and you have to chase them down. This, of course, had some of you christening it as a roguelite monster hunter, which I'm certainly down for, so pick it up if it's of interest. And of course, the no-brainer pick goes to Curse of the Dead Gods, a stylish action roguelite that has you delving into ancient temples to seek power, fortune and immortality. This launches in 1.0 after about a year in early access, where this developer has been one of the most consistent in terms of content patches, being a frequent feature in my big content patch series. It looks awesome, feels great to play, and has an Aztec-like theme which is very well done, so cannot wait to dive into the full release. Some of you did knock it as a Hades knockoff, but I'm totally not seeing this, but be your own judge this week and let me know in the comments below. Based on what I know of it so far, it could be up for some awards later this year, taking the #1 spot. To see more of the big picture, check out these awesome videos and I will see you after the jump.